Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you very much for joining us on this week's edition. That is the second week of December 2020. I hope that you had a restful weekend and that you have taken the rendezvous to be with us again for another 5 days of Viewpoint, where we bring you economic, social, political and lots more concerning the society. And given that we are gradually getting into the days of festivities, Christmas, New Year, you ought to be very vigilant and careful in the way you go out or come in or in your activities, because a lot of people use this opportunity to rob others and steal. A lot of ills are taking place during this period, so just be cautious and careful. That said, in today's edition, we are going to be talking issues related to the economy, and as usual, we have as guest with us an entrepreneur, Dbs Avi, and he'll be accompanied by Mange Venashus, and Mange Venashus will be with us for the whole of this week. Dbs Avi, good evening and thank you very much for joining us. Wish you a happy week start.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Vanessa. It's a pleasure for me to be with you, and we hope to enjoy the week and the day.
We hope to really enjoy the week and the day. Mange Venashus, a happy week start. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Vanessa. Good evening and good evening to our viewers. Vanessa, let me greet our regional councillors who were voted, and I believe that having given this responsibility, they will put now their party differences, their political differences aside, and consider the development and the well-being of the citizens of Cameroon. They are now regional councillors of Cameroon and not regional councillors of Party A or Party B or Party C.
Very correct. Let us take a first part of the show. With the turnout of events in 2020, will business ventures be a more considerable option for the workforce getting into 2021? Dbs, yes or no?
Yes.
Will it be of more Venashus?
Of course, Vanessa, yes.
Yes. And are there any economic advantages venturing into businesses over getting employed? Venashus?
Vanessa, I think there are. I prefer business to employment. So there are.
So there are. Dbs?
There are more advantages getting into business than getting employed.
All right. Same point of view. Let us have the debate. With the turnout of events in 2020, will business ventures be a more considerable option for the workforce getting into 2021? Dbs, you think that yes, it's going to be a considerable option? When we talk of events, most remarkably, we're talking of the coronavirus pandemic that has affected almost all the sectors in economic activities, and in a little way the Anglophone crisis concerning Cameroon and other conflicts in Africa and the entire world as a whole.
Yes, of course. You've mentioned the aspects which touches all of us. The coronavirus pandemic. You've mentioned the crisis in the two regions of our country, which we're in Cameroon, we are concerned about. And when we look at this, we can start thinking about what should we be doing in 2021. Should we be looking at different options? Should we be going for jobs? Should we be going for businesses? Well, I would like to mention a recent research done by the Global Financial Small Businesses Trade Alliance shows that despite the coronavirus pandemic that has been plaguing the world entirely, and Cameroon in particular this year, 76% of individuals who choose the option of starting a business this same year, though with the pandemic, were more comfortable than individuals who went for their jobs. We saw a lot of people lose their jobs. We saw a lot of people who were, we can say in quote, financially stable a little bit. They had some stability in their lives, everything turned down. I was watching a report this morning, and it was rather fortunate it occurred same time we are going to have this debate of a pilot who's been a pilot for about 8 years, and because of the pandemic he lost his job, and fortunately for him he had that business mindset and he started selling burgers in Malaysia. That is just to say, and he's doing fine with his family. That's just to help us see how much business ventures can bring. When we talk about business ventures, we might wonder, why is it really a considerable option, like the question asked, for 2021? There are a lot of factors. First, we have independence, we have lifestyle, we have financial freedom, we have knowledge acquisition. These 4 points are things I would like to talk about. When we talk about lifestyle, a lot of us are caught into a lifestyle that we don't want, that we don't love, that we are not happy being in. For example, getting up in the morning, being at work at 8 a.m., coming back at 9 p.m., for example. We are not comfortable, we are not happy. But being into the business, you have this, let me call it monopoly. You have this possibility of doing it your way. You have this possibility of changing your program, of doing it when you're comfortable. When we talk about lifestyle, what do we mean? Most people today, of course, we have people that are married and those that are single. But the question is, the time that you spend at work, is it the time that you really wanted to spend working? The time that you spend with your family, is it the time that you really wanted to spend with your family? The time that you spend traveling, visiting, is it the time that you really wanted to spend visiting? The time that you spend being there for others, is it the time that you really wanted to spend visiting or being there for others? We mentioned at the beginning the crisis in the Northwest and in the Southwest, and I'm sure that amongst us and even those viewing this program from home, so many people had the desire to maybe go to the Southwest and Northwest and see these people going through difficult moments and talk with them one-on-one. But maybe the busy work schedule did not permit them. Maybe because if they have to go for 2-3 days absent from work, they have to answer questions from somebody else. These are things that being into business gives you the possibility of doing. You don't have to answer questions from anyone. Now, one of the most important things, the financial aspect, of course, we will agree that it's one of the most important things. When we are thinking of working, hustling, in quotes like we always say it, we are thinking about what do we stand to gain. That is one of the main things. And statistics show that despite the risk, of course, that comes with starting a business, because there is a lot of stress, there is a lot of insecurity, instability, because it might work just like it might not work. But despite all of those challenges that come with starting a business on your own, the financial rewards outweighs the financial rewards that comes with working for someone. With working for someone. With being employed.
Thank you very much, Apianoch Avi, you for talked of independence, financial freedom, and lifestyle. And in your point of view, you said a lot of people who ventured into businesses during this pandemic were far more like comfortable than those that were employed. Mangavena Shoes, you equally think that starting a business venture is a more considerable option than getting employed?
Actually, Vanessa, if there is any sector that was hard hit by this pandemic, it should be the COVID-19. It should be the economic sector during this COVID-19 period. And life must continue, Vanessa. We must not sit down because we were beaten hard by this pandemic, and no, life must continue. Remember, they say there is more grace in rising than in falling. When 2020 began, or when we were around this time last year, people envisaged 2020 as a year of abundance. I remember there was this slogan, 20/20 for everything. 2020 economic, health, all this thing. But the reality of 2020 was it took every other person the world over, unawares. Nobody, could have an idea of what was going to happen in 2020. With what has happened, with the way the economy is, we cannot but try to, you know, think twice to consider a business option as a way forward in 2021. In 2021, if we don't, you know, make hay while the sun is still shining, we may be heading for, you know, for more difficult, complicated 2021. I think that, like they say, once bitten, twice shy. Mankind has been bitten once by this pandemic, and if we still walk into 2021 with that mentality of, you know, assuming 2020 then we are going to fail woefully. I think that when we want to talk about considering the option of business in 2021, we have no choice. We have no option. Mr. Pierre was telling us something about a change in lifestyle, financial autonomy. These are things that, you know, every human being would want. Every human being would want to have his or her needs, you know, solved or, you know, overcome with the least, you know, struggling. That is why we work, because we want to make sure that we satisfy our need. But if you cannot be walking into a year after we've gone through this, and if you think that business can help you overcome this, then there is no thinking twice in it. We just have one option to go ahead and launch a business. Another thing, Vanessa, if we have to survive, remember this pandemic has taught us that we need to think of diversifying our sources of livelihood. We should not depend on one source, because like so many people who were depending on one source of livelihood in 2020, they got the shock of their lives, because you were just thinking that things will be as they used to be. Now, if we can lay hands,
a lot of people lost their jobs.
Of course. These are and exactly
some businesses had to close down.
Those who depended on one source of income would have a problem, or had a problem at this during this period. So this is what we have to do. But then, when we talk of considering a business option, it is not just, you know, jumping into a business which you don't you know, master how it goes. We need to have some coaching. We need to find out from those who have an idea. Like Mr. Epie, who's an entrepreneur. We need to find out from them, what does it take for me to venture into this sector? Because if you take, for example, we in the media world, and you threw someone into a business world, if you are not, I want to call it lucky, you may not be able to sail through, because you will not be able to, you know, do your checks and balances the normal way an entrepreneur would do. There are certain things that we need to sit, look at them before, study them, do the feasibility study of that business, how profitable that business can be, how realistic is the business really apt in this particular period at this particular time, and then we launch into this business. So in as much as we are raising the necessity of a business option during this period, it is also our place to get in touch with those who can help us, you know, strategize, those who can help us put the right, you know, like they say, the right pillars, yes, so that we take up. Because if we don't do that, our economy, Vanessa, would be a problem. And besides that, if you look at it, the world had to understand from this crisis that we should try to, you know, don't depend so much on one person. Because when this coronavirus came, it affected everybody. Those who were a bit self-sufficient, I use the word a bit because, like we said the other days, there's nobody who is self-sufficient. Those who were a bit dependent, they could manage. But those who had to depend on others, and that is why Africa, thank God, the coronavirus did not take a toll on Africa as it did in Western world. If we had to import all the sophisticated equipment, I'm talking of oxygen tent, I'm talking of all what was needed for the treatment of coronavirus patients, I don't know where Africa would have been. So this is a time to tell us that this period we need to, you know, think open. We need to think broad rather than being streamlined on a particular way. No, we are just no.
And this is a wake-up call to so many youths who are out there having that matricule syndrome, that if I graduate from the university,
I need a matricule.
I need a matricule to be employed by the government. So let us think more out of the box and get into business ventures. In the second question, are there any economic advantages venturing into businesses over getting employed? Epie, you think that there are a lot of advantages. So what are some of those advantages?
There are a lot of advantages, Vanessa, a lot of advantages. venture into business over getting employed. And when we talk about advantages, we are going to categorize them a little bit. Meaning we're going to talk about how it can affect the government positively, and then we are also going to talk about how it can affect the entire community and the way things are being done generally. And you see, Vanessa, we're going to use examples from far and near. Sometimes in the past we sat on this same platform and we spoke about how Facebook has changed lives. Those are businesses that started. Today, Facebook, Alibaba, Google, Amazon, we can name them. We come to Cameroon, we talk about Brazzaville, we talk about Nextel, we talk about Kaji. All these companies I'm calling, have they changed lives? Have people's life changed because of this? Venturing into business means more employment for others. What percentage of people are unemployed? Now, if 50% of this population that are unemployed get into business, do you think they can be able to employ the other 50% that are unemployed? You agree with me that yes, they can. So the rate of unemployment will do what? Will drop if we get into business. What does this mean for the government? It means more tax revenues. This is a benefit that the government can have. Also, we have a system, the way things are being done. The more entrepreneurs think, the more they try to bring out new ways of doing things. They free us from the obsolete systems, obsolete way of doing things that have been existing, and as such give us more freedom, give us the possibility to be more free and giving more time, putting more time for things that are more important. We are going to talk with examples. A lot of respect to Express Union, but let me ask you, 8 years ago, when you wanted to collect money from Bamenda to Douala, for how many hours do you think you have to stand waiting for that money?
Or for how many weeks?
For how many weeks? Yeah. There were times it would go for days before you could collect 10,000 francs somebody was sending to you. Mobile money has changed all of that. Is that a venture? Yes, it is. That has changed the obsolete system of standing on the line and waiting for hours and days, if possible, before collecting money. Imagine you spending the whole day sitting at the counter waiting to be paid. What does that do? It spoils that day. If you had something else to do and that would benefit the community, you cannot do it anymore. These changes, these things have created a big change in the way things have been done. And if we keep venturing into businesses and bringing in new ideas, things are going to be different, and there's going to be more profit, and the economy in general is going to grow. That is something that we have to look at, because government wise we are going to benefit, and social wise we are going to benefit. The whole community is going to benefit from the way from the ideas that are being brought. Most ideas that have been generated by entrepreneurs today, small business owners, is what has transformed the world. When new ideas come, new products, new services, a new market is developed. As such, new income, more income. Because we might be thinking it's not only about doing, because sometimes there is already an existing market, there is already money that is coming in, but do we have to get into what is already being done? And now when something new is being done, it means new opportunities, it means a new market, it means new worth is being generated. And this new worth is new profit for the government. This is what it means. The same example, we don't have to take so many examples. What benefit has come in because mobile money has come? Is it a new market or is it not a new market? It's a new market. It's a new market. There are so many examples that we can take. Today we have a few stores that maybe do home deliveries with food. Is it a new market or is it not a new market? It's a new market because maybe you pay 500 francs for delivery, so this food is being brought to you. This 500 francs, maybe you're paying 200 francs goes to the agent bringing the food to you. Is he gaining or he's not gaining? And thereby
maximizing time.
Exactly. Even if you want to do advertisements today online, even on Facebook, taxes are being added. This is more income for the government. If we were not doing this advertisement, will income come in that form? No, it will not come in that form. So if e-commerce, for example, was not existent, that particular form of tax, which comes as a result of advertisement because we want to sell our products or service, will not come in and will not make money. The examples are so many.
So concerning all this, are you in a way trying to discourage those that may want to get employed by the government?
People always say that life is about choices, the choices we make. We cannot question the decisions that people take. I cannot sit here and question the decisions that people take. But what I can do is I can show you the advantages of one over the other. And I will vividly tell you that there is an advantage being into business over being employed. We all have been employed. You have to be employed. You have to, sometimes you're employed because you want to generate capital. Sometimes you're employed because you're passionate about what you're doing. And we believe in doing what you're passionate about. But we also believe that you can find a way of doing what you're passionate about on your own.
On your own.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Notch Avi. Mangavena shows it will be more advantageous venturing into businesses than getting employed.
Just from a simple, notion of thinking. Nobody wants to be, a subordinate to another person. Everybody wants to be, I want to be my own boss. Just from a simple way of thinking. I would also want to be my own boss, where I'm not answerable to anybody. When you opt for a business than being employed, Vanessa, it puts you, a way forward than if you were employed. In economic terms, no economy in the world has ever been driven by civil servants or by nationalist enterprises. No economy. All these leading economies that we have in the world are being driven by private sector. That is why I remember my father used to tell us that in the period at the time of Ahijo, if a civil servant bought a car, there will be a commission of inquiry behind you to find out how you bought the car. Because if you're a civil servant, you're in category A, 1, 2, or 3, category B, C, they know your salary. There is a
salary range.
Yes, there's a range between this amount to this amount that you are having. And then you get up in the morning and buy a car for 2-3 million. For how long have you worked? Where did you get the money from? At the period of Ahijo, only businessmen could buy their cars anyhow. Because in business, you can get into a business venture within 2 weeks and it gives you millions. But the civil servant is still working will still be working for another 2 months to come back to his 120,000 or 150 for those who are blessed. But they did within 2 weeks, somebody's already in millions. So you would not tell me that such a person would prefer to be employed. Once you are in the business, business world on your own, you are accountable. It makes you to be accountable because you want to make sure that each dime that goes out is for a purpose, and one of the target is to bring in more. You don't just spend anyhow. You are accountable for everything. In a business sector, you are responsible. Your responsibility increases because you know that if you relax a bit, the business will crumble, and that is your source of livelihood. And nobody would alive because they say in business you consider your business as your oxygen.
As your oxygen.
Yes, because it is with that you live, and nobody would venture. I don't know if there's anybody on earth who would see the source of oxygen that enters the world and you attempt to go and close it. That's the same thing in business. Once you are in business, you must keep that business alive because it is through that business that you must live. So in business, it makes you to be responsible. In business, there's freedom of expansion. If I'm employed, if I'm in DBS today, I cannot decide to say, I'm going to create DBS 1, DBS 2, DBS. It is out of my competence. I can't do that. In as much as I would love, in as much as I would know the advantages of creating sub-channels of DBS, in as much as I would know the implication of those channels, I cannot just get up and do it. There is a hierarchy. The owner of DBS is the person who would have to decide. If it were my channel, I get up in the morning, I say that it will function this way, it will function this way, it will function this way. That's the meaning of freedom of expansion. Yes, I will not have to consult others. And then there is this issue of taking decisions. Taking decisions. When you are into a business, you decide how that business runs. Nobody decides it for you. I remember when Mr. Ipia was speaking, he indicated that, that when you venture into business, you have a change of lifestyle. Vanessa, I would not like to get up in the morning at 4 o'clock because I have to come to work. No. No. If I were the boss, if it were my business, I know that this business opens at 8 a.m. and it closes at 5 p.m. Which means if there is anything that comes up at 2 p.m., I am free to switch it off and go back to the house. If anything that comes up, I am free to do that which is which occupied me and come to work at 10 a.m. But then once you are employed, you have a fixed working schedule that you respect. And that is why even when you have a case, a situation that is serious, you have to obtain for permission. Yes, if I were my boss, I obtain permission from me again. How? So the situation here is there are all advantages that come with operating your own business than being under somebody, than being employed. And Vanessa, we were talking about the issue of matricle syndrome. Matricle syndrome is a bad a bad method of of bringing up an economy. It is we used to say it is the Western strategy of making sure that they keep our own economy within checks and bounds, while theirs grow, ours remain in. You just go to school to graduate and be employed by the state. They don't open us up to be job creators. They form us to be employers, to be employees. Yes, to be so that they can just job seekers. Correct. We are not formed as job creators. We are formed as job seekers, and that is why we remain at the stage where we are, Vanessa.
All right, Epieno Chavi, as an entrepreneur, what could you tell anyone trying to venture into business?
Mange mentioned something that is very intriguing. I appreciate that very much, and I was very happy when he said that. He spoke in the beginning about learning. What I can say is, if you have an idea, if you're thinking of something you want to do, humble yourself, take time to learn. Jack Ma said sometimes you need to take like 4 or 5 years to learn, understand what you want to do before you get into it. That's someone who has made so much money in his life as a result of his business. Is the owner of Alibaba. So what I can say is, if you have ideas, if you have business ideas that you want to develop, you want to execute, don't be afraid, don't be scared, don't think of the risks, don't think of what will not work or what might work. Stay positive, remain positive, go besides people that you trust, that you believe can help you and push you, and then learn what you need to learn and do what you have to do. The results will always come, no matter how hard it is.
The results
never give up.
Will always come. Take a bold step. Thank you very much, Epieno Chavi, for that.
Thank you very much.
Mangavena Shoes, hope to have you tomorrow.
I'll be there.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed the very first edition of the week. Thank you very much for watching. Do stay tuned to DBS Television for programs continue. See you tomorrow, God willing. Goodbye.